Hello and welcome to Michael's Minty Music for today. Today we review Shadow of Whale's second and most recent EP, 2017's What We Do. It's pretty good in my opinion. Definitely a good release from them. This is the track listing, and these are the tracks I added to my playlist, 4 out of 6, so 2/3 of them overall. This album's pretty good. It's like their previous EP. Most of the songs are pretty good, and the overall flow is really great. Animals is a great starter, and Talk is another hype-up song. Waiting slows it down a bit, leads into Runway and Live It Up, which are both more upbeat tracks, leading into the final track, Roots, which is slow and a bit cheesy, but not terrible, not too bad to end on. I think Shadow of Whale's best tracks are on this EP, but also maybe their worst. I'd rather have Bury the Hatchet than Roots, but I'd definitely take Talk over something like Fall Back, so it's kind of worst and best. The genre and vibe is pretty similar to their previous album, pop rock stuff, although this one feels a lot more pop-oriented. Their first EP was more early 2010s. This is clearly more of a late 2010s release. There's definitely a vibe difference between the two EPs. So definitely check this one out if you liked their first one. Although I would suggest you start with their first one. There's only one single released before the album, Runaway, which was released as a video before the whole album came out on their YouTube, so I'm using that as a reference. My favorite song here is definitely Talk, although Animals was up there when I first heard the album, and I've slowly come to love both Runaway and Live It Up as time goes on. Both of those songs are also really good. Definitely a good release here. I think this EP is better than their first one, although not by a wide margin. Their second album is clearly more experienced, but it also lacks some of the variety of their first release. The flow is pretty much the same between the two, but I think overall the average quality on What We Do is better than on Shadow of Whales. So I do think that this one is a more experienced and definitely more higher quality release. Now, this album doesn't take my top spot from 2017. That goes to Imagine Dragons Evolve, which I love and I think is a perfect album. So, one of my favorite albums ever. And What We Do is not going to take it here. Next up is Blondie's latest album, 2017's Pollinator. It's got an interesting cover and apparently was moderately successful in the UK, so I'm interested to see what they've got here for their most recent release. Stay tuned for that, and as always, stay minty.